So comment, subscribe, dislike, or like. Check out the links in the descriptions for other of my sites, other activities that I'm involved in. Got a whole bunch of Facebook groups you can check out. I play multiple card games, so I do music among other things, so check out the links in the description. So this is my Hatchhyack controller deck. So 1 copy of the leader, 4 Ocean Shenron, 4 Poutine, 4 Deadly Defender Goku, 4 Finn, Cohesion Incarnate, 4 Goku The Adventure Begins, 4 4-Star Ball, 4 Power Burst, 4 Fraternal Pawns, 4 Light Bullet, 4 Flying Nimbus, 4 Porunga Giant Force, 4 Baby Resolute Avenger, 4 Mecha Kubora Plotting Revival, 4 Toa Dark Demon Realm Scientist, and 4 Super Saiyan 4 Broly Prismatic Burst. Alright, so it's called controller instead of control because control tends to be like, board control, hand control, controlling through countering. Like counterplays, for example. This is controller because our goal is to use Mecha Kubora and Toa to take control of opponent's battle cards and then use them against our opponents. So our main threats come from our opponent, not from ourselves. Right? We do have some stuff we could attack with, like Broly, Deadly Defender Goku. We can attack with our unisons, but mainly our unisons are for defense more than offense. So there's that, because obviously the idea is for us to take our opponent's battle cards and use them against them. So, for example, Mecha Kubora, you definitely want to play him for 5 energy, so that way when you play him, you can do his -4 effect and take your opponent's battle card. And then you want to keep him in play because he is a blocker, and want to be able to, use him to block and tap down something, to further, give you defense, pretty much to buy you extra turns by tapping down battle cards and keep them tapped down, and then swing back at your opponent with the cards, the battle cards you stole from. And then we got Finn to help us with the board wiping. He works well with Mecha Kubora and Toa because of the fact that you force your opponent to choose one of their battle cards, which more likely they're going to choose their best one, and then warp the rest of their battle cards. Then you'll use Toa and Mecha Kubora and take the battle card that they kept. And now you have it. So now their board is cleared, right? Now you have their battle card. In that situation, Mecha Kubora is the better of the two. She just adds as an extra Mecha Kubora. He's the better of the two because he does switch the battle card into active mode so that you can swing with it. Typically, you want to steal a blocker with this. My main thought when it comes to this idea is I want to be able to take my opponent's 8 cost and higher cards that they like to cheat out. Like anything that they rivaled, anything that Union absorbed, or Union Potara. Specifically, the awesome 8-drop Gogeta Thwarting the Dark Empire. On that one, the one that has triple attack, and it has the ability to warp 2 cards from your opponent's hand, 2 from their board. That's the one you want. It's a really good card. It's also a blocker, and it has a permanent that while in rest mode, it basically has barrier. So pretty much it can't be removed. So that's pretty nice. And it's a 35k body. So that's one of the types of cards you want to steal from your opponent and beat them down with their own power, right? But there's a lot of other cards you could steal and use against your opponent. But you get the idea. That's like the main idea is to use your opponent's own threats against them. And the fact that these can stay on the field a little bit long by activating their effects. This has a +1 ability you can keep using to build up his markers, and then take your opponent's battle card with it. Especially after you do the whole Finn thing, like boom Finn, clear the board. You only got 1 battle card left. Bang, take it. The same goes for Toa. Toa can do her -0 ability to warp, and you discard a card from your hand, typically be the 4-star ball, right? And then warp one of your opponent's battle cards 3 cards to the last. And then of course her auto will trigger to give her markers, so she'll just be gaining markers from that, as well as anytime a battle card is removed from the battle area by battle or by a skill, she'll get a marker. So, and this can happen on either player's turn. So you can trigger in your turn to get her effect, but also on your opponent's turn if you do something to get rid of their battle cards, or they KO one of their own battle cards on their turn to like an effect or something. You can trigger effect and get a marker, right? And just get her to turbo up to enough markers to do her -4 ability and go from there. So that's the main strategy. Is you want to defend, right? All these negates, all these defensive cards, right? And then take control of their best cards, and then beat them down with their own best cards. We still have Broly for going tall, and even for early game aggro, because you can drop them as soon as turn 1, start swinging 15k to your opponent, or wait until turn 2, drop them as a 20k, and swing at your opponent. The way I play this deck, yes, I don't awaken the leader. It's not necessary, because you definitely want to try to get early game. Want to get out your MicroRecords and your Toa out sooner than later. You don't want to wait until after turn 3 to start charging yellow energy. I prefer to start charging yellow energy as soon as turn 1. But hey, to each their own, however way you want to play, right? But that is the way I built this deck to be played without awakening the leader. Because your main focus, your main strategy is your main deck. Your leader's just there for its floodgate ability, obviously. So we have Karunga, because he's 15k body, decent stats, especially for as a turn 1 card. If you play it turn 1, you might want to save it for a little bit later, but typically you can't start it off as a turn 1 card because play for 1 energy, right? Typically you want to play it for 2 or more energy, but let's say you play it for 1 energy, you can you can play it for 1 and then do its active main, because there's an active main to give itself a marker, and that's just its inherent ability, and then use its marker skills by -1 to draw a card. So you can obviously use it as a draw engine, or use it for its main ability, right? Is to choose one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, and it can't switch to active mode until the start of your next turn. So this is a way you'll try to tap down a threat, right? Something your opponent might try to attack you with multiple times, like a dual attacker, or something just as double strike or something like that. So you can use this to keep something tapped down. So, because typically, you'll negate an attack or block an attack, right? Or just your opponent attacks with a battle card to your leader, and you're just like, all right, I'll take the damage, right? But you don't want to have a scenario where it's your turn, then it's back to your opponent's turn, and then they attack you with that same card they attacked you last time, where you took damage, right? Or you blocked or negated. You rather use this to tap it, to keep it tapped down, so you don't have to worry about it. Now your opponent can play another card, right? Another battle card, for example, and attack with that. All right, fine. You'll deal with the other card instead of dealing with, the card they already had. You want to force them to play other cards, especially if you're slowing them down, right, through this effect, and then you drop Fin on them, and then just bang, clear the board. So depends on how you want to set that up. Also, another thing is tapping down threats and then saving that threat so you can steal it later, like we'll make a Kobora, Toa, for example, then use it against your opponent. What else? Oceanus, because it can negate an attack and it can block, and it only costs 2 on your opponent's turn. Putine is here for her second auto, and you're going to hardcast her for 3. She has barrier, unique. which sucks, right? That she's unique. um, she has the once per turn ability when your opponent plays a battle card using a skill or activates a counter skill. Choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and switch it to rest mode. So obviously it's useful against anything, overwhelm, a rival play, any battle card that can cheat itself out through a skill will trigger this effect, and you'll be able to tap it down. Especially if it's like I'm thinking, right? The idea is if my opponent drops a Gogeta, right? Gogeta Zeno thwarting the Dark Empire, I don't want that 35k triple attacker swinging at me, right? So tap it down, and then ideally take it with Toa or Mechikobora the following turn, right? And use it against my opponent, right? More Mechikobora because he can untap it, but you get the point. Make sure that it's a threat that serves me, not serves my opponent. So that's the kind of stuff you want to do. So I was looking at some stuff that's like, which, because the way this leader works, you're limited to what you can play. So it's like, damn, there's a lot of good cards that I would like to play that I could play. It's the permanent concept I'm trying to say. It's you play something and it stays there and you constantly have access to it. So it's like, man, there was a way that I can every turn have access to a certain effect. Like like how we use Goku to constantly get us the 4-star ball, so we can use the 4-star ball to combo defensively. We want, and we use our blockers, unison blockers to block every turn, right? Our negates, they only serve us that one time, but of course we prefer stuff that lasts longer. So of course we're always looking into the new sets that comes out for anything that's permanent. Is the way because in Magic that's what we refer to it, permanent. Cards you put on the field and they stay there and you always have access to them. You can always use them. So I'm always looking for permanence. So that's where the unisons blockers start coming in. It's like, yeah, unison blockers, awesome, perfect. Got to put them in Hatchhyack. Ironically, people still hate the idea of me putting anything that's not black in Hatchhyack, but it's like, well, Bandai is not giving me black blocker unisons, right? So I gotta use unisons that have color until Bandai gives me mono black unison blockers. But you get gotta work with what I got. So that's what I'm doing, working with what I got. So since we have permanent blockers through the effects, through unisons, and then of course we have Deadly Defender, which kind of serves almost the same purpose as a unison blocker. Something we can rely on, absorbing as many attacks we can. We usually want to keep opponents' attacks 3 or less. Leader swing, unison swing, and at least one battle card swing. We want to keep it 3 or less. We don't want them to have more attacks than that. So that's where, Deadly Defender comes in to try to absorb at least 2 attacks before, it gets removed from the board. Of course, it has barrier. Putine also has barrier, so these cards will stick on the field for a while. But having Putine and Deadly Defender is obviously a nice combination, because if my opponent does play something, threatening, I can use, especially if they cheated it out to a skill, I can use Putine to tap it down, and then all I have to do is worry about my opponent's leader and unison swing at this card, and just gotta keep it on the field long enough. At some point, we'll have stuff that will let us power up our Deadly Defender Goku and keep him on the field a lot longer. So that'd be kind of cool. Ironically, there is a concept that I was thinking of. There is a unison, a Vados unison, that has the ability, that has an auto where I can combo a skillless battle card from my drop area. It has to be yellow, and since I'm comboing it, it doesn't count as obviously me playing a yellow battle card, so it doesn't conflict with Hatchhyack, obviously, because I'm comboing it, not playing it. But we don't have 0 cost 10k, for example, right? Skillless, battle card with 0 cost 10k combo power. Essentially, that would be a skillless super combo, right? Which, by the way, would be so badass. I would so love that. Bandai, look into that. A super combo doesn't. Yeah, it won't count, because wouldn't a super combo technically count as a keyword skill? Therefore, it would technically count as a skill and not skillless. Damn, that'll suck. It'll be hard to have a skillless battle card. Unless they made a skill on the card that says this card in the drop area is treated as a skillless battle card. That'd be cool, and it might work. You get my idea. I'm trying to find some way where I can get a 0-cost 10k combo power, right? For this, I don't think it has to be 0 cost. You know what? Bandai, give me a skillless battle card that has 10k combo power that costs 1 energy. I could work with that. I just need to have 10k. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't have to be 0. Obviously, that's asking too much. At least cost 1 energy. You know. But anyway, getting off the topic. That's just my future predictions, future thoughts, right? Future vision. What was I saying? Most of the stuff is obviously self-explanatory. Don't have to explain too much of the other cards. Power Burst, of course, it's your free negate when you have 5 or more cards in the drop. So it comes in handy when you have to block an extra attack, especially like if it's an overwhelm. Opponent tries to be slick and drop an overwhelm that's 8 costs and higher and try to get an extra attack in for game. You can just drop this. And it lets you get back Goku Adventure Begins so you can reuse them. Fraternal Bonds, decent card. I like the way it functions. Especially since we're not awakening our leader. Therefore, this will tap our leader in order to get the second effect. This negates an attack, and then you may choose one of your cards and switch it to rest mode. Now, granted, you can use energy too, which is also badass. That you can use an energy, switch the energy to rest mode to trigger this. You can use anything. I mean, obviously, you can use your Purunga. Since you're not attacking Purunga because of his effect that he can't attack, you can just switch him to rest mode just to trigger this card's effect, or the leader, or any of your energy. The main thing is any card you can rest to trigger this card's effect, which will let you choose one of your opponent's battle cards and switch it to rest mode. So you can use this to, negate like your opponent's leader swing, for example. Leader swing, and then tap down one of your cards, like an energy or your leader or whatever, and then tap down a battle card that they clearly plan to attack with. So that's really nice that it has potential to stop 2 attacks just off of 1 card. Light Bullet has the counter attack, negate an attack, right? Then you may choose 2 of your battle cards and switch them to rest mode. Now, I wish this was rest 2 cards in general. That would have been badass, but it's 2 battle cards specifically. And then, if you switch 2 battle cards to rest mode with this card's effect, your opponent can only attack with battle cards one more time for the duration of turn. The way I read that is always, if I play it, that means they can only attack 1 time with 1 battle card after using this card. So if I use this to negate a leader swing, for example, and triggers the effect, then my opponent can only attack with 1 battle card, and then that's it. So even if they end up, because my leader already restricts my opponent's how many times my opponent can attack with a battle card, like how many battle cards my opponent can attack with, but they could always play something 8 costs and higher and attack with that. So the idea is to try to have some way of stopping that line of play. My opponent trying to play things that are 8 costs and higher and trying to attack afterwards. So I'm always looking for cards that can help with that. Because the leader already is good against, just basic stuff. But it's when my opponent tries to outplay my leader's ability is when I need effects to help me, counter my opponent trying to outplay my leader ability. Flying Nimbus, same thing. Even though my leader ability already technically, Flying Nimbus is my opponent, right? It's good to actually have Flying Nimbus because if your opponent cheats out any 8 drops or higher after they're already attacked with a battle card, then this will help you against those extra battle cards. So you negate an attack with this. Place 1 yellow card, specifically yellow, right? So you can't use the 4-star ball. It has to be one of your yellow cards. But we have 28 yellow cards in the deck, so you should have at least one yellow to pitch for this. And then if you do so, your opponent can only attack one more time with battle cards for the duration of the turn. So this sounds a lot like this, so I'm expecting it to work a lot the same, but if not, if they have this card working a little bit different, then so be it. But I expect it to be essentially another Flying Nimbus. So you get the idea, is trying to reduce any of those extra surprise attacks your opponent tries to cheat out. The goal is always to survive every turn, right? Always get that extra turn so that way you can make your plays and chip at your opponent's life until you win, right? Already mentioned that we're going to be using this to keep our opponent's battle cards tapped down. Obviously, you can use it as a draw engine, especially against stuff like hand control or something, because you use this active main to give it a marker, then minus the marker. So essentially, you just broke even, right? You get a marker, remove the marker, get a marker, remove the marker, to either draw a card or tap down when it wants battle cards. It's a -3 ability, so obviously the only time you'll use this is you'll play this for like 3 or more energy, right? And then use this -3. Like you could play this for 2, use this active main to give it a marker, so it has 3 markers, and then -3 that uses the effect of choosing up to one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, negating skills for the turn, and KO it. So this will help you, kill stuff like, anything that's indestructible, for example, or anything that just has that ability where, oh, it can't be KO'd because I have skill. So this can help you against the Gogeta, like in case you're like, yeah, I won't be able to get to the point where I can steal it, because it more likely will beat me before I get to steal it. So I use this to get rid of that Gogeta, thwarting the Dark Empire by negating its skill that protects it while it's in rest mode, and then KO it to get off the board. And then hopefully later on get a MicroRecords out there, and if my opponent drops another Gogeta thwarting the Dark Empire, right, then I'll steal it, right? Do my best to negate, defend myself enough that I can get to the next turn and use MicroRecords, steal it. Like, you're mine. MicroRecords, blocker, auto, once per turn when this card loses markers due to an opponent's attack, choose up to one of your opponent's cards and switch it to rest mode. So this could, you can obviously use it to block an attack, and then since it is 15k, you're probably going to lose a marker, right? Which will trigger its auto, which means you can put one of your opponent's cards in a rest mode, which means a leader, a unison, especially if it's like a unison with dual attack, you definitely want to tap that down, right? That energy, in case you want to tap down, make sure they can't, play a negate on your turn or something like that. So it's useful in that way. So it just depends how you use it. You get the most out of it. So you can potentially stop 2 attacks a turn. Use this to block an attack and then tap down a potential threat. Give me a second. Like I said, you get the idea. So it's up to you how you use the cards. And early, you could. So you might be thinking like, I want more control in the deck, right? I want to have cards that can take more, right? Especially early game. You could if you want. You don't have to play a 60 card build. You can take out the Super Saiyan 4 Broly's. That's just my personal preference. But you can take them out and put in the 10 drop. Yeah, she's 10 drop. STR Supreme Kai of Time. Because she will. Right? Saying it right? No, she doesn't take it. She warps. Pan does. Pan takes a battle card, so you could put the SCR Pan Time Patrol Maiden. So Pan Time Patrol Maiden you could put in here. Heroine's Lineage, it's up to you. But Pan definitely is a good option because of her ability to be played for free if there's 4 more battle cards in play, right? Play it for free, negate, make it where your opponent can't type of battle cards for the turn, and then she has the ability to pay 1 energy with her active main and take one of your opponent's battle cards. So you could do that if you want. You could tweak this deck to make it a 50 card deck. It depends. The choice is yours. How you want to do that. But you know, to each them, however you want it, way you want to do it. Just mentioning that you could use heroines things if you want, or and definitely a good option because she's an 8-drop. You could essentially pay her for free, and then get that nice 40k body swinging hard. I'm definitely a fan of the card, so definitely recommend that one. That card at least. And that's the end of the video.